So just going to do a little recap on this past weekend. Let's take it back all the way to Atlanta. A week prior to Atlanta, I found out that the schedule had changed. And so I found out that I had to race twice on the same day at Worlds. And you know, that is what it is. Ideally, it would have been great to have one race a day and, you know, go from there. But that were the cards that I was dealt with, and I'd made commitments to 2 partners prior to that. And so I wasn't gonna jeopardize that. And James and I, we were training really hard, and our progress and where we had started to, you know, our time in Atlanta, you know, training was going really well. And then obviously Joanna and I, we did a really great race in Houston, securing a world record. So I had very high expectations going into Worlds, and I felt like our preparation leading into Worlds was very solid. I tested it out with James in Atlanta, an hour apart, and there was not a problem. We hit our paces. We did exactly what we wanted to in training. We pushed the limits and learned a lot. Fast forward from Atlanta all the way to Worlds. I went back to Australia, still prioritizing my Hyrox training and everything like that. The unfortunate thing about Worlds was the week, so we had landed back in Nashville 2 weeks prior to World Champs, and you know, we landed, that was all fine. James also had the exact same trip as us, and when we got into Nashville, we just acclimated as quick as possible, got back into regular training, hit some really solid track sessions and treadmill sessions for double threshold. And I'm talking, we were running fast. Some of our paces that we were holding was a 3:25 for some of the efforts. And you know, I couldn't even fathom doing that in December of last year. So everything was tracking really nicely. Sunday was our last training day before we started to taper. And then Monday, I started getting sick. I don't know what entirely it is. I never went to the doctor, but I just thought it was, you know, a typical head cold. It did feel a little bit worse because I actually was getting body aches and the sweats and everything. So I stayed away from James and the rest of the team, making sure that I didn't want to contaminate them, of course, thinking that, okay, it's all right. Monday, I don't race until Saturday. I can overcome this within a week. Travel day was Wednesday because we had a press conference, and Wednesday it hit me the worst. And so we eventually got to Chicago, and I just was absolutely bedridden. For me, it was really important to actually, you know, stick to my commitment, try and recover as quick as possible. So I was trying to sleep, taking a lot of, rubbing Vicks all over my body. I was trying to hydrate as much as possible. I definitely lost my appetite, but I did try and fuel the body just to try and keep some energy. But it was really bad. And then, you know, and it's not like I've never competed sick before. This was just different. And I had a booth appearance or an activation with LSKD on Friday morning. I was better than what I was on Wednesday. At that point, the fevers had dulled down, but I was obviously very congested, couldn't breathe properly, and, you know, just dealing with a sickness. I ended up going and doing my commitments on Friday, and basically just trying to get out of the hotel room so that I could actually try and get some normality back in and kind of stop feeling sorry for myself, essentially. Come Friday night, I actually went on the treadmill just to try and run because I hadn't ran since Sunday. And, you know, I ran 4Ks, but like they just weren't fast paces or anything. It just was kind of flushing the body because I didn't want to put myself in a deficit. So come Saturday morning, I had obviously spoken to James, and I did mention to him, like, I'm not feeling 100%, but I'm still committed. We've come this far. You know, I would hate for you to come all this way, all the training that we've done, and we not just show up to the start line. And at that point, I actually didn't even know if I could finish the race. But James, he is the best partner and never once put any pressure on me to, you know, overstretch myself or anything like that. And he said, look, T, I'm just here. You just keep me posted on how you're feeling throughout the race, and we won't go out hot. And so normally we obviously attack at the start, and I just said, James, let's just ramp it up because I don't want to red line too early. Yeah, I'll start, you finish, and then wall balls, 40-60.
Yep. Rock and roll.
Oh, farmers, I'll pick them up. I've got chalk,
Yep.
so I'll give it to you. But I'll pick them up, do hopefully a lap,
Yep.
and then
Rock and roll.
row 350, 350, 3.
Yep.
Especially considering I haven't worked out or done very much since Sunday, so I don't want to shock the system too much and put myself too far beyond my threshold, because once you go beyond your threshold, there's no coming back. And so we gradually built, and fortunately enough, there was we actually raced with an older age group, but there was another couple who was in the same situation as me. The male partner was actually competing that night too in the males doubles. So we both were moved from our original start time at 2:10 to 12:50 to give us a little bit more time to recover. And we were actually briefed before our race and everything so that we could recover between our events, and everything was going to be perfect. You know, like it was really just a matter of like staying below threshold, and I think we managed it really well. It just wasn't what it normally should be like for our race. I don't even know, like, I want to say we would I was trying, you know, trying to hit 50% effort, but at that point I was really just surviving, and James was just being the best support crew that he possibly could. We stuck to the game plan of how we were going to break up each station, but we just couldn't hold our run paces purely because I just didn't have the gas. We crossed the finish line, and I was obviously not well, but for me that didn't matter. I literally had made an agreement and said yes, that I'm going to compete with Joanna, but I wanted her to understand that we probably will not be racing at my 100%. So I wanted to give her that option. Hey, do you want to still take the floor? Because if you do, I'm ready to race. As soon as I crossed the finish line, I ended up going straight back to my hotel room to try and sleep. I tried to force food down just so that I had some energy and to replenish my energy. And then as I was messaging Joanna, I woke up to a message from Joanna, and she made the decision that I could never. And she, you know, explained to me why it was important, that she thinks the best decision for us is to pull out. And, you know, for my health, I'm very grateful for that. One thing that I've never been able to do is, you know, not show up, and to come to Worlds where we've had such a strong campaign all the way leading into it, to fall sick. And I'm not just talking about a silly little cold, like I'm talking to be really sick. The week leading into Worlds was just very unfortunate. You know, I've thought about this a lot, because not being able to take the floor has definitely been something, like a very hard pill to swallow. not just because I felt like I let my team down, but I let everyone else down. The Hyrox team that have created an event, the fans and spectators that showed up to watch me race, my sponsors that have supported me throughout this whole campaign, and my whole Proven team, my family, Shane, Willow, everyone that's been a part of this whole journey knows how hard we've all put the work in, and to not be able to take the floor was absolutely heartbreaking. I do believe it was the best decision for my health, as I still don't feel 100%, and I haven't actually done anything physical since racing with James, because it just puts me in such a huge deficit. So I'm just trying to get healthy. This is the best my voice has actually sounded since getting sick, and that is why it's taken a long time for me to actually explain why Joanna and I never actually took the floor. I do apologize to anyone that feels like they're being cheated, or this has affected them in a negative way. At the end of the day, I just got to get back on the horse.